Good evening. Welcome to the next in our Saint Spotlight series. Tonight, we are really excited to spotlight our athletic department. We have Mr. Devaney, our athletic director. A few coaches will be joining us tonight to talk a little bit about our programs, our teams, why we love them, what you can expect from sports at Newman-Goretti. So we're going to jump right in. Tonight's format will just be Q&A. So we'll do a little Q&A, and then families, if you have any questions at all, you can just put them in the chat or the Q&A box, and we will get to as many as we possibly can. So again, I'm Mrs. Edwards. I'm the admissions director here at Newman-Goretti. I'll be moderating our Q&A tonight. And Mr. Devaney, if you want to go ahead, introduce yourself, explain a little bit about your role here.
Molly, thank you. So welcome everybody, parents, hopefully some students as well. So my name is Mr. Devaney, Mr. Pat Devaney. I'm the athletic director here at Newman-Goretti High School. We'll get into specific sports and levels, all that in a little bit. But with athletics, I'm overseeing all of our sports teams here on all levels, the facilities that we do have both at school and off campus, which, like I said, we'll get into it. I don't want to spoil any surprises, but we'll cover everything tonight, and obviously any questions that you're going to have for us.
Thanks, Mr. Devaney. And Coach Byron, if you want to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you coach and your team.
Good evening. How are you? My name is Coach Byron Barnes. I'm the director of football and also the JV head coach. Our football team is top tier. We are probably top three in the city of Philadelphia. We're ranked top 4 in the state, and we're ranked 13th in the nation.
Awesome. And you guys just had a really fantastic run. We were all so proud of the football team and how far they went this year. It was really exciting to be a part of it.
Thank you. We actually reached the semifinals for the PIAA for the first time in Newman-Goretti history.
Really, really awesome. So I want to start with Mr. Devaney. If you could just kind of go over our athletics as a whole. What sports do we offer and at what levels?
Right. So we do have a couple sports, and they do differ between the seasons. So we do have a traditional fall season, a traditional winter, and we also have a spring. So going through that, breaking it down, in the fall, what we do have right now, we do have football. Coach Byron Barnes is here with us today. We have a varsity as well as a JV. All right. We have a girls volleyball team. That's varsity JV as well. We have co-ed cross country. We have cheer as well. So cheer, it's one squad. They do sideline cheering for the football games, and that's for the fall. And then we also introduced or brought back, I should say, boys and girls soccer. For this past season, we were able to get a boys JV team off the ground. A girls varsity team we were in hopes of, but just the turnout with the girls at the time, plus with some logistical things with busing, referee shortages this year, we weren't able to complete a full season, but we did have a team. We did practice in hopes for next year to make sure that we do have a varsity boys as well as a varsity girls. Going into our winter, a little bit less here, but we do have indoor track, which is co-ed as well. We do have girls and boys there. Some of those meets too most are off campus. We go to Lehigh, we go to Alvernia, Glen Mills as well is where we do some of those. Then we go back into our traditionals as well that are on campus. We do have girls basketball, which is varsity only. We have boys basketball that's JV and varsity, which is pretty big. We do have a big varsity squad as well, so we do see kind of students being able to play both. Some freshmen as well in the mix, which is great for this season specifically. And we do have cheer as well. So now cheer it's specific to the season, fall, and then we go into our winter, and they'll cheer sideline as well at girls basketball games and guys whenever we're home. All right. Now breaking into the spring, we have baseball, we have softball, outdoor track. Those are our 3 traditionals that we've had, and we are adding a 4th sport in this year with girls flag football, which we're pretty excited about. So let me touch with that. So baseball this past season, we did have a varsity squad as well as a JV team that I did head. I was the head JV coach for baseball. Softball was off for COVID last year. So we're bringing that back and just doing the numbers actually yesterday. We have about 30 girls that are interested in playing softball. So we might be able to split a varsity JV roster, which is awesome. Outdoor track, same thing. We do get a little bit more come out for outdoor track. We do see that kind of sprint between football into basketball. So indoor track's not really a thing. But then once we go outdoor, we have that opportunity that we have our 3 sport athletes, which is great. Girls flag football. This is something that's really exciting. We've talked a lot about since I got the job in July. I did transition from a teacher full-time in the school now to the athletic director. The cool thing here is that the Philadelphia Eagles are actually getting behind this and sponsoring it. So the New York Giants and the New York Jets sponsored this program in New Jersey and parts of New York, and it's ran amazing. They've had a great success, great turnout. The girls are excited. And what now I'm hearing is there's 4 PCL or Philly Catholic League teams that are interested, and we're going to mix in with the public league for the first season. So the Eagles want to be able to donate uniforms for the first year to get it off the ground. And then they've also talked to the PIAA, which sanctions all the state tournaments that Coach Byron was talking about with football, which is really interesting. They want to make this a sport, make it competitive, and get some of these girls involved in a spring sport and something that one is pretty cool. If you get a chance to look it up, it is pretty cool for our young ladies to do this. I'm excited. You can tell I'm excited talking about it. And that's really what we have to offer on the sports side with our teams.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Devaney. And before we jump into everything else, I think I just have to note the Eagles love Newman Goretti. Coach Byron, you guys have had some recent interactions with the Eagles as well, right?
Absolutely. So one of the advantages of Newman Goretti, because our football team is so high profile, we have a lot of corporate sponsors. And this year, one of our corporate sponsors, who's East Bay Sports, who owns Foot Locker, Champ Sports, Foot Action, and they basically are the ones furnishes our cleats that we wear. They gave an opportunity for us with some new performance gear that they have, and they basically players and coaches, which was Giving Tuesday. So guys in our locker room, the players knew nothing about it. So we do have the video on our Instagram page and also on East Bay where you take a look at it. We also had NBC 10 there broadcasting, and we're a partner with NBC 10, so they're at our game field, so they do a lot of write-ups on us as a team for our players and everyone around.
That's awesome. And that video is up on Newman Goretti's social media as well, if anyone wants to check it out. And I'm correct too that Coach Albee was recognized by the Eagles within the past year for his coaching, right?
Yes. So our head coach, who's Coach Albie Crosby, was nominated as the Don Shula representative for the Philadelphia Eagles, which Don Shula is basically it's the head coach of the year. He was the Eagles representative. He also was just named the Catholic League Blue Division coach of the year as well. We're proud at the big that we're is we actually had 15 players on top of everything.
Wow, 15 players recognized as all Catholic?
Yes, all Catholic, first team and second team.
Phenomenal. It's really cool. I mean, as a school kind of in the shadow of the link, it's awesome that we're getting some love from our hometown team. So congrats to you guys on that. Mr. Devaney, I was hoping, and Coach Byron, jump in specific to football as well. I know for some of our students, there's a concern, in grade school, you just join the CYO team, it's competitive, but there's space for everyone. There's equal playing time in a lot of cases. So what is the process for joining our teams? Are there tryouts? Are there cuts? What can students expect in each sport? And I know it differs per sport.
Yeah, so I know from my end, and then B also could jump in with football is looking through it. So for our teams, we do host tryouts, which could span from 3 days to a week, just depending on the size of the turnout that we get, size of the team, what we're looking for. So specifically, and I could speak, and I said this before, with coaching baseball. So running through those tryouts, we'll have the kids come out. They'll be given a 3-day, 4-day tryout. They'll show us anything from specifics to hitting, throwing, pitching, catching, anything that they have to go, and show us their skills. The best thing that I was able to see having the JV team, it was really about development, right? So I was able to take a lot of the kids that had an interest and were good kids and wanted to try something new. And I kept a couple kids on as well that, might not have been able to make a team, or it's a little tougher competition. And by the end of the year, that development was great because you could see that they really worked their way onto the team, deserved a spot. Going through the fall, and I'll let B talk about their tryout process. But looking at volleyball. So we did have tryouts for volleyball. There was a lot of girls that came out and tried out. And we were able to split some into JV, split some into varsity, and let them see kind of, okay, do I have a chance here? How much is my playing time going to be? And luckily, some of the girls said, you know what, after tryouts, this really isn't my thing. And they went to soccer, and we were able to accommodate that and with open arms say, hey, listen, now they're going to try a different sport that they never thought of, and then ended up enjoying it. I'll let B take that with football as well.
So for football, we're very simple. We do not have tryouts. We do not have cuts. So if you come out on the football team and you join up and you're on the football team, that's how we do it. We're fortunate where we do have a varsity team and we also have a JV team. So for varsity, we dress the best 47 players to give us an opportunity to win. That's our biggest thing. And then with JV, the remaining players will play JV, and then there's some rules that we go into between varsity players and JV players. So our JV players, the numbers really change. So this year, I think our average game for a JV was between 28 and 30 players for a JV game. So you can actually dress for varsity and still play a JV game. So that's why the numbers change. But for us, there's no tryouts, no cuts, but you will work out. You will be in shape. We are probably one of the most in shape teams in the state of PA. We have about 5 personal trainers that are coaches. So you get a lot of exercise and you get a good regimen on workouts and also healthy eating.
Awesome, thank you. And Coach Byron, all told, between your JV, your varsity, how many young men do you have all together on the squad this year?
So our roster this year was a total of 63 players.
Wow, that's awesome. And I know, Mr. Devaney, can we talk about cheer a little bit too? Their process for tryout, size of the squad, all of that.
Right. So with cheerleading as well. So cheer, we were up to 50 girls coming out of tryouts this year. So it was a big number. And we did see the influx with Hallahan as well after Hallahan unfortunately closed. Fortunately, we did get to see those young girls come into the school as well and add to the culture and add to the place, in a positive way. So with those, it was a little tricky this year to manage that just because of the school closure. No one was expecting it until it was all said and done. But we did have the tryouts going back. It was about August. It was about the first week of August. We did it a little bit early. Since cheer is not competitive at Newman-Goretti, we don't have to follow the competitive rules with the PIAA. So if we were competitive, we would have had to start the 16th, but we had that first week of August to really bring the girls in, get their names, information, set up kind of what was going to happen, and then ended up with 50 girls. So I think it was 80 girls did have interest, and then it kind of got down to 50 to just keep it there. And now I know in talks, there's a possibility of going competitive in the future. I won't say if it's going to be next year, but these are some of the things that we are working through.
Awesome. And I know for cheer, traditionally, they've done their tryouts in the spring. So parents, 8th graders, just know we'll send you an email once that tryout date is set. Students do have to be registered at Newman-Goretti for the following year. So accepted and enrolled in order to try out. But if that's something of interest, just keep it on your mind. look out for those emails about cheer tryouts, because they do sometimes come a little earlier than the other sports for the exact reason Mr. Devaney said, they're not held to the same PIAA schedule. I wanted to ask before we keep going in, we kind of got a good sense of football and your awesome accomplishments this year. Mr. Devaney, can you speak to some of the other accomplishments our teams have had in recent years?
Yes, it's great. So obviously football speaks for itself, which is great. And obviously schools, proud of everything that happened this year. But yes, there's definitely some good things happening elsewhere in the athletic department. Cross country, we didn't have the high numbers just because of different stuff going on qualification wise, but we did have 2 students that did finish in the PCLs, which was Nick Barbie, who was a senior, as well as Najee Hunter, that did finish inside the top 25, which was great inside the PCL, and both seniors. So it was great to see that. Volleyball, they've made strides hand over fist. They looked great this year. We were able to field 2 teams, which was something we haven't been able to do in a while, from what I'm being told in previous years. So they did see, increased participation and also strides of getting better. They had a lot of close games, a lot of tough games within the PCL, which is great to see. Our coach, Ashley Joyner, she is a teacher in the school, which is also great to see that, as well as our assistant coach, that is one of our guidance counselors as well. So those are all good things. I know going into it this year, with basketball, both girls and boys are slated, picked pretty high with the PCL to finish. The thing is too, I know with our coach, with Coach Carl Aragale, he is the most winningest PCL coach. He's been doing it, I think it's 30 years now, that he's been coaching, and he's been able to see a lot of, great young men come through the program, go off into college. I mean, I was just looking at it the other night, just seeing the different schools, St. Joe's, Villanova, going out into the SEC as well as the ACC. All right. With Miami, Duke, so it's awesome. And we see those kids come back too, which is great to help the program. As well as the TBT. If anybody's unfamiliar with that, it's the basketball tournament that's held in the summer. We did have, for the first time ever in the history of this tournament, a high school team, which the New McGrady Saints did compete, and they will be back next year. They just broke news on that, hopefully in the Syracuse region. So we see that basketball has been good. Girls basketball as well. We're seeing Coach Andrea Peterson. She has smaller squad this year, but a lot of good girls, a lot of good determined girls that want to, play and win. And I think they're going to have a great year. I can talk a little bit last year as well with baseball. That was the only spring sport that got to play because of the COVID situation, and softball and everything like that. With baseball, we came up short with the PCL. We made it to the semifinals against Archbishop Wood. And if it wasn't for a rain delay, I'm telling you, we would have been PCL champs. I'm just saying it. It just wasn't on our side.
That's right.
So I'm still sick, sits in my stomach. But there's a lot of history with baseball. 2016, 17 PCL champs, state champs as well. Coach Zoom has done a great job. He came in his first year and won the PCL as well as states. This past season, we did get in there in the 3A classification. And same thing, we were able to fight, tooth and nail back, get in a game, and just a weird base hit, wins it. I think it was Trinity High School. So there's a lot of good things going on. There's a lot of good successful programs. I think the biggest thing that I could attest to is the care that comes, with the coaches, with football, with Byron talking about the nutrition side of things, talking about having the kids work out. I know with baseball, we did a lot of our indoor workouts with strength training. We talked to the kids about being good people in the community, being good people on and off the field, in the school, helping where we can. And that's something that I see with a lot of our teams really stand out, as well as on the field accomplishments.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The other question I have, this is more logistical. Where do our teams practice? We obviously are right smack in the middle of South Philly, so we don't have fields on campus here. So where do our kids practice, and how do they get there?
Right. So That is the struggle there. If I could build a stadium, I know Temple tried doing it up in North Philly, but then they come down our neck of the woods with the link. So we do have there's two facilities really that we work out of, and that's our gym that is on campus at 1736 South 10th. That's basketball, volleyball, cheer as well. They'll practice at the school. When we look at football and we look at baseball, we're down there 25th and Moore, 26th and Mifflin, or 25th and Mifflin. We do have McNichols Field, which is an outdoor, it's a multi-purpose center that we use for JV football home games, varsity football practice, JV and varsity baseball that we use down there. So we do have a field house as well that institutes a locker room. That we do have weights in there as well that football, baseball use. We do have a left-hand side too for storage. It's actually at the place of the old Newman building down there, going away from the school. So those are the two facilities we really use. For soccer, we were down at Saya, which was 10th or 7th and Bigler, which is right down the street from 10th and Bigler, which is the South Philadelphia Super Site, where our varsity football team plays all of its home games. The other sport that we do use is an indoor track, outdoor track. This is a little different. We have to use the building, all right, to do our indoor track. And then for outdoor, we usually go to O'Hara when we can't use the South Philly Super Site. Obviously, being a school district site, they have other teams down there. So some days we do go out to O'Hara. Some days we do use the parking lots. And sometimes when I say that to people, they're like, oh, well, it's forgotten about. But our head coach, Lincoln Townsend, he has had them to the national ranks and are ranked nationally for indoor track as well as outdoor track. The 4x8 medley, I think they were first in the country for 5 years running. And as long as Link's been here as a coach, he hasn't lost a PCL. So he does a fantastic job.
He also was National Coach of the Year.
There you go.
And he's a football coach as well.
Correct.
He's amazing. And he's done it all without a track of his own. I mean, he has those kids running all over South Philly. It's amazing.
Yeah. So it's great. And that's the biggest thing. It's South Philadelphia. You have to be very creative on how you come up with things. And I think it speaks measures just to the coaching staffs, the kids that we have here that are able to put this together, and really make it work. The last one I forgot about with cross country, Belmont Plateau, which is going over towards the Philadelphia Zoo out there, right off of the Schuylkill River. We do use Belmont Plateau sometimes for practice, as long as we can get out there. I know it gets a little dark after school, but we do get out there for all of our meets. PCL, and then the PIAA districts are there. After that, it moves all to Hershey.
Awesome. I think it's safe to say that our athletic program is an example that facilities do not build the team, right? It's about the coaches, it's about the heart, it's about the effort, and we've got that in spades. So our kids are doing awesome. It's great to see. I kind of want to go a little deeper. You talked about it a little bit, but for each of you, what is your philosophy on coaching? What are you hoping your kids take away from their experience on our teams outside of just learning their sport and getting better at it?
B, go ahead. I'll let you hit this one first.
All right, I'll start it off. So our main philosophy is we are coaching young men that are student athletes. So that and we'll start with student first, because one of our requirements, your GPA has to be above 2.5 in order to play football. We have coaches that are tutors that will help out with grades. We make sure that grades are the number one priority, because you are a student first before you are an athlete. So there is so many resources in the school, and we make sure that all of our players take advantage of them. Whether it's speaking with your teacher one-on-one, trying to get extra credit assignments, staying for tutoring. These are things that we push each student athlete to do, and it is a requirement in order to play football. So that's the first thing. As an athlete, we have two rules, and we push these two rules. Number one, you play for the logo on your jersey. Number two, you play for your last name. So those are our two rules. So you don't want to do anything to mess up what we call our brand, because Newman Goretti is our brand. So you don't want to do anything to mess up your brand and mess up your last name, which is basically messing up your family. So those are our two biggest coaching philosophies that we use for our program. And right now we've had 0 incidents. We have, I think it's 34 former players that are in college right now. We have about 12 players that are in the NFL amongst our coaching staff. Our last player that just graduated from Newman Goretti, Chris Barmore, who's actually went to Alabama on a full scholarship and now plays for the Patriots. So, and he's still in communication with us. And that's one of the things that we do. So those are our main philosophies in grooming our young men to become men, period.
That's fantastic. And I love, having gotten to know the guys on the football team over my time here, I love knowing that your team's open to anyone who wants to put in the work, whether you're going to play for the Patriots after you leave Newman Goretti, or whether you're going to go on to college and never play again. They all still get the same value out of the experience. I love that about it.
Absolutely.
And I know you guys have kind of spearheaded, I know you've done this in the past, your study hall after school, where the team has time to get their homework done, to do their work before they head to the field.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we, I think school gets out at 2:27, if I'm correct.
You are, yeah.
2:27. So our players have to report. So basically from there, they go to study hall and they have to report to the field between 3:15 and 3:30. And a good thing is we have coaches that are in the building. We can make sure that they're attending study hall. And it's a quick, transition from the building to our practice field. So we make sure that players utilize that. And what we also do is we do a one-on-one. So we take an upperclassman and assign him a lower classman. So to make sure the transition is easy, make sure they know the classes, assignments, teachers, what to look out for, what not to do, how to come to school so you don't get demerits, because we are a student athlete and we are an example. So, because everyone looks at, he plays on the football team, you're held to a higher standard. So we want to make sure that you're setting an example for anyone underneath you.
That's great. And I know other teams have actually started doing the study hall as well, because it's been so popular and successful for your team, which I love. And I hear that echoed at school too. Sometimes you think, in high school, the athletes get away with things and they get special treatment. And the kids here say the total opposite. They're held to a higher standard. We expect more of them because they are examples. And
that is correct.
It's great.
We expect more because who wants to be average? So that's how we present it. We don't want you to be average. We want you to strive for greatness. And in order to do that, you have to be held accountable. You have to be held accountable for your own actions, which is our philosophy and what we preach to our players.
Great. And Mr. DeVenny, a little bit on your philosophy, kind of how the other teams and coaches approach everything.
Yeah. So that's echoing, that was perfectly said. I think the biggest thing for me and anywhere that I've been, I put a lot of heart, a lot of thought, a lot of effort into what the grand scheme and what the final picture is going to look like. So just like even thinking of this, right? I went to St. John Vianney High School in Central Jersey. And I loved it. My 4 years, all I could wear was St. John Vianney stuff. When I went to college, I was still wearing St. John Vianney stuff. My mom even said, do you wear anything else? And that's kind of what transitioned now into Newman Goretti. As you can see, I'm wearing Goretti stuff right now. Wearing the building, put the sweatshirt on, everybody starts laughing at me. But it's what we want to build here. And what Coach Byron did say with building that brand, building that name of Newman Goretti. And, it's a very strong name in South Philly. It's a strong name in Philadelphia in general. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I know someone that went there, or, we see these guys in the pros, if it's football, baseball, basketball. There's a ton of kids right now in the G League, which is right underneath the NBA from basketball. And I think one of the best things there, just for an example, I know we have one of the baseball players, Jimmy Carrigan, who was a grad of Newman Goretti. He's actually working out our baseball team right now at their indoor training before he goes back to minor league camp with the Minnesota Twins. We see that with football. We see that with basketball, that these kids are coming back in the summer and the spring, and it means something to them. I've seen NG for life. I've seen, Saints Forever, NG Proud, like all these hashtags that just mean something,
It's all
to
about us.
And that's it. It's all about us. These are, the sayings that we go with. But that's also built through what Coach was saying. And it's a unique experience and a unique perspective with having me in the building, being a full-time teacher last year, teaching health and PE. And then now I'm teaching 2 gym classes, but also in the building from, first period through the end of the day. And then I get to check on some of the sports teams while they're practicing, going to the games. And one of the things is I do like to roam the halls and just check in on classrooms, check in on kids walking, and making sure that they're in their uniform. They're getting set up for the day. They're being respectful, which they are, which is great. And that's something where character builds that into what Newman Goretti is, and what the parents want to see. I'm a product of Catholic high school. And it's funny, people look at the small things and laugh, but having your tie on, having your shirt tucked in, no knock on the public schools, but you see a difference in Catholic school. You see that improved rate of attendance, improved rate of college acceptance, getting jobs outside of college. And I think, I could speak a lot to that we have a lot of kids in the building that are following that mentality and that mold, and just being, upstanding citizens outside of, the 4 walls that we have, plus doing great academically and athletically.
Awesome. And I think it's so true. One of the joys of the size of our school, we're in this sweet spot where we're not a super small school, but we're not huge. So our kids can't hide, right? Their coaches are going to see where they are. The teachers know them. Mr. Devaney's walking around. So they can't hide behind that varsity letter or, just kind of sneak around. They have to be awesome in everything they do. And you guys really hold them to that standard. And I love, Mr. Devaney, what you said about being Saints for life, how our alumni student athletes have this strong connection to the school. I've witnessed it myself, giving admissions tours, and we'll walk in the weight room and there's professional football players in there who are back here training. I mean, who comes back to their high school weight room to do their training in the summer? Saints do, right? Our alumni basketball team that competed this summer, no one else is sending a high school alumni team, but we are, because this, it means something to people to be a Newman Goretti athlete beyond just playing the sport. And you guys, you exemplify it every day.
Right. I'll throw that out there too, to finish that point too, which is good. We talked to Scoop Jardine, who did play professionally, lives in California now. And he played at Syracuse. Instead of going to Syracuse for that alumni team and getting paid to play, he decided to turn that down and play with Newman Goretti, because it was his guys, his friends, Carl and everybody that was doing it, meant more to him money wise to play with that and actually, put Newman Goretti back on the map. I seen that. I'm saying that all the time. We're putting ourselves on the map almost every year. If it's this sport, that sport, and the people that we have in the building.
It's amazing. And knowing we're a Catholic high school, I can guarantee we did not pay him to play in that tournament.
No,
so that really is saying
I wish we could, but
we don't have the Syracuse athletic budget, but it says a lot about what we're doing here and what you're doing. This is getting a little less deep, but for our students coming out of 8th grade who are, I know some of our students are really competitive athletes at the 8th grade level on travel teams, on club teams, on AAU, but for those who are kind of used to the CYO level, what would you say is the biggest difference between, grade school athletics and high school athletics? What should they be prepared for in that shift?
I would say,
That's a good question, Molly.
That's it.
I try to make it good.
That's a great one. And I think that's one that's overlooked. I think some of it that I see a little bit too now is seeing all the sports instead of just my sport. The difference is more repetition. There's more work that goes into it. Instead of the, let's just say, hour and a half on a Monday and Thursday night in the week, maybe play 1 or 2 games. It turns into a lifestyle where, okay, Monday through Friday, we're going to have practice, or Monday through Saturday with games mixed in. And I'm going to let B say it with football because it's a little different with having your practice and your games. But looking at volleyball, looking at baseball, looking at soccer, you're going to practice Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. We went Monday through Saturday. And depending if we had a game on Monday, we would practice Sunday and take an off day in between. So you're really looking at practicing 6 days a week, 1 off day. And then even on those off days, I know that some of our guys, from basketball to baseball, they want to jump in the gym or jump in the cage and take some extra swings or shots. And same with football. I know that the more goes into it. So I'll let B say that too, specifically with football.
Yeah. So for football, once we're in season, so we have our off-season workouts, which are voluntary workouts, but you better be there. So just clarify that they are voluntary, but you better be there. And then in season, we practice Monday through Friday, basically the month of August, and it's from 3:15 until about 6:15. So the one thing that's different between middle school CYO is structure. So the one thing with high school, like Coach said, there's a lot of repetition, but we're structured a little bit different. So as our football team, we're structured like a college-based program. So you're gonna practice, with your individual coach. You're gonna run with your individual coach. So you spend a lot of time with your position coach. And one of the things is that you may start off as a running back, and then we may convert you to a position that we feel you're going to play in college, not what you used to play in middle school ball or CYO. So that's one of the biggest difference. Learning terminology, learning our playbook, learning calls. There's a lot of things where with a high school team, there's a lot of work on your own. Okay, so you have to, learn the playbook on your own time. You have to learn our signals, our personnel. This is all on your own time. We give you the resources to do them. And this shows if you are willing to put in the work, because when we come to practice, it's all about reps. So we need to make sure that what you're doing. So that's where we take the August where you start learning our playbook and learning everything. And then we're so structured that, and this is the running joke with a lot of our players, because we have an app that we use called Team App, which parents have a portal on there. Our players have a portal. So there's no questions for the parents. Is my kid at practice? When does he practice? The parents know that the kids, their players schedule 100%. And the running joke is I'll tell the player basically what color underwear that they have to have, what color socks. This is how structured we are, because we are one team. There's no individuals. So we want to make sure that, and you can tell by our pictures about what we do, we all wear the same cleats, we wear the same socks, we wear the same uniforms, t-shirts. Everything is listed because of our brand, which is the biggest thing.
That's awesome. I mean, I think it's safe to say at Newman Gretty, if you're going to be a student athlete, you need to be ready to make a commitment. It's not dip in, dip out. I'm too tired to go to practice today. Maybe I want to play, maybe I don't. It's, it's open to just about anyone who wants to do it, but it's a serious commitment for the season and the off season in every sport. Is that fair to say, Mr. Devaney, that that's across sports?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And it's even more speaking to that, and we'll touch on that, but it's definitely a commitment level. It turns into not wanting to, put a challenge on yourself. It puts a challenge on yourself, but also it makes you accountable. It doesn't want you to say, I'm not feeling it that day, but now you're letting down, 50 other guys or 50 other girls in the cheer squad, or 10 with the track team. That's the biggest thing. It keeps you accountable, responsible, and it teaches so much more, than just throwing a ball around.
You never want to let down your family. That's our rule.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And we always say Newman Goretti is a family in the classroom, on the field, we are one big family. One thing I think is really cool, you talk about how much time and effort our student athletes put into their sport. I see the flip side of it. I'm in the building with the kids. I'm not out on the field. But one thing I love about Newman Goretti is no one falls into a box, right? Our athletes are not just athletes. I know a number of your guys, Byron, who are playing in the orchestra. I can't tell you how many cheerleaders are part of my ambassadors club and donate so much of their time to talking about Newman Goretti, to hosting people for tours. So it's amazing that you're giving our kids the skills, not just on the field, but this time management to be able to be ambassadors and really full-fledged members of the Newman Goretti community and clubs and activities and all of it. And they just give it their all, which is cool.
Absolutely. So one of Newman Goretti's biggest things is community. So we encourage all of our players to not only play a sport, but also join, student council, some sort of other activity that's there in the building, because number one, it ultimately builds up your resume. The more things that you're involved in, the more items, you can put on your resume, because ultimately now we're getting into, high school sets up college, and then college sets up your life, and going forward. So the more activities you have, when we get into our college training, which we do as a team, and we go through with our players, these are things that colleges look at. They want to look at all your extracurricular activities. They just don't want to see that you played football. They want to see, what else did you do in the community? Did you do any community service? What other groups were you in? Student council. Like you said, we have players in orchestra. We have multi-sport players. We just have, our newest player, our senior, Riley Collins, who's just committed, getting ready to commit to West Virginia, also played baseball, and is also doing a lot of things in the community as well, on top of, some of our other players as well.
They're great. And I will shout out Raleigh every single week. He helps me with my tours by bringing every material I need from my office up to the room where we do everything. Never complains, always so happy to help. And I noticed that among all our kids, they're just helpers in every sense. You mentioned a little bit about our kids going on to college. So I want to give you both a chance to brag a little bit about our student athletes. How many of them are going on to play in college? Where are they playing? What kind of scholarships are they getting? Because I know it's pretty substantial.
You want to start, Pat?
Yeah, I'd love to. So that's the cool thing about it. And I think that's one of the perks of the job, is overseeing, every team, seeing where these kids start, and where they end up. And I know I talked back when I was saying with the JV head coach of seeing the development over the years, and seeing the kids work, and then finally getting to that scholarship level. Which is awesome, and it's such an accomplishment, number one, for us to see it, because we're just so happy for those kids, but for themselves, for their families. So I know specifically with football right now, we have Anthony Johnson, which is a senior linebacker that's going to go to Rutgers. We have Raleigh Collins that was just mentioned as well, going to West Virginia. And we'll actually have them signing down in Texas next week, officially on signing day, which is awesome, to go to those respective schools. And I know with football specifically, off the top of my head, I'm watching them every Saturday, which is cool. We have a player that's at Ole Miss right now, that had a fantastic career at Newman Goretti. We're just
was nominated SEC first team,
Yep.
Freshman All-American as well.
Yep.
And then we
Yep.
also have Eric Gentry, who's at Arizona
Yep.
State, who was just nominated Pac-12 freshman, team of the year as well. So we have a lot of players that are in college. Like I said, so that's one of our biggest things. So right now we have 15 seniors that are on our varsity roster this year, and all 15 of them will go to college, whether it's Division I, Division II, or
Yep.
Division III. that is our ultimate goal. Our head coach has, we call him the GOAT. He has probably the best relationship ever with college coaches. They just stop in the building, and talk to players. They're at our practices when they're allowed. So every player, student athlete has the opportunity to get to college. And we always say, we want you to get that blank check. And that blank check is basically for $250,000. So that's what we ultimately push, which is why we say, the more you put into it, the better you are. And, we give you the foundation, it's up to you to walk that path.
Yeah. And then even just to jump on top of that too, even just today, and I'll add a couple more because I know this is what everybody wants to hear with schools. We had LIU in the building yesterday. I was with Central Connecticut State today. We saw Pitt. Pitt was in there today. A couple other schools as well that have been coming around and calling. That's just for football. Then, baseball last year, we had a student go to Immaculata, which is my alma mater. I played 4 years in Immaculata for baseball. So seeing him go there was great. We saw a couple of junior colleges in Jersey, Rowan at Gloucester, which is a top-ranked national program that has guys go right to professional baseball. Not even college. They'll go right to professional baseball after their first 2 years. Couple other schools here and there, Division III, D2, D1. In the past, we've seen kids now go to Westchester, Penn, LaSalle. We have, like I mentioned earlier, there is at least 4 in the minor leagues right now. Most notably Jimmy Kerrigan, Josh Akami, who Jimmy's with the Twins, Akami's with the Red Sox, who had huge careers here at Newman-Goretti, state championship careers. There's another kid, Nick Baum, that is with the Cincinnati Reds as well, which was pretty cool. Him and Josh Akami got to play against each other. So that's just football, baseball. With basketball already, we're seeing our sophomores getting offered scholarships. I know West Virginia's been in the building, Wake Forest. We had Michigan come in during the fall, which when you see Michigan, you see a Big Ten school, it's like seeing the SEC with football. You kind of like take a second, you're like, well, what are they doing here? James Franklin.
Penn State in the building.
Penn State's been at the building, and then it's kind of come accustomed to it with basketball, football. I'm sitting in the end zone and Sean Battles going in for a touchdown, and I had James Franklin with Penn State right next to me. Being able to say hello, shake hands, and have a small conversation. And the biggest thing that I would say is too, you don't know who's around. We have a ton of college coaches that are coming around. We've had Maryland in the building. We've had Connecticut come down. So we're seeing a lot of the schools come around and they're interested in our programs. All of them from fall to fall, winter, spring. And it's really awesome, especially like we said with the Eagles, with like football with girls, having them around too, and having those coaches and those resources around as well. It's awesome.
That's really cool. I mean, our students go on to do such fantastic things at all levels, and it's because of what you set them up for here. I mean, what an experience. We always say, we understand a Catholic high school education is an investment, but no doubt you get your return on that investment coming through Newman-Goretti. I think this will be my final question for you. And if we have parent questions, we can open those up as well. But we have, we've talked about our coaches, how many of our coaches have been at Newman-Goretti for a long time, have made the commitment to stay here. So for you guys, why do you love coaching here? Why do you love being a part of the athletic program, specifically at Newman-Goretti?
Let me see. B, go ahead. I'll let you go.
All right. So this is our 5th year here with the football team. And the biggest thing for us here, coaching at Newman-Goretti is our student athletes, and the young men that we nurture that become a part of us. I have players that text and call all the time, just, hey coach, what's going on? Hey, can you help me with this? I got a quick question for you. It's just that relationship that you have with our student athletes, with our parents as well. Because one of the things, we say without parents, we don't have student athletes. So, and that's one of the things. So we want to make the transition for the parents also painless as well, because this is the first time for a lot of players, a lot of students, where they're coming to school by themselves. They're taking transportation by themselves. They're basically becoming, young adults. So, and parents are, this is their prized possession. So for them to, let us borrow them for 4 years and nurture them and be a part of their lives, that's the one thing that we enjoy the most on our staff, and which is one of the reasons why we love Newman Goretti.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Byron.
So yeah, I'll echo that too. It is a special place, and I've been saying that since I came in to teach. So a little bit, and not to just go crazy here, but I did start at West Catholic. I did teach at West Catholic for 6 months. And no knock on West Catholic. I was able to get in, get myself acquainted as a teacher, and then luckily, Hugh Quigley, our principal, called me with a full-time position and brought me over. And I was kind of stunned. I said, wow, Newman Goretti is, wanting me to interview for the position. Got a recommendation from the principal at the time at West, and the cards fell where they may, which I was happy with. But seeing the difference between, West Catholic to Newman Goretti, and just seeing the environment, seeing the people, the kids, even in a COVID year when we had hybrid classrooms and computer screens and all these cameras and stuff like that, it just felt like home. The teachers that were in the building, the administration, everything, it felt right. And then obviously progressing into this year and, seeing more of the same and being involved with baseball before I got to be involved with all of athletics. It's a special place where you see alumni. I think of the baseball staff that I got to work with, our head coach, our assistant coach, our director of operations are all alumni of Newman Goretti, and our pitching coach. So four of them of the 5, and then myself, which is 6, were alumni of Newman Goretti, and saying how special it was. And then I think one of the key aspects from this year, with COVID obviously kind of declining, we had our Thanksgiving game, and we play Southern, which we want to try and do every year. Obviously COVID, availability, and obviously with our state playoff runs. But seeing our bleachers packed with alumni from as far back as the 60s going through to 2019, 2020. It's a special place. Being from Jersey, I heard about Newman Goretti. And I think the people that are in place, our coaching staffs that we have, our people, our student athletes, it's all one. It's not just, this is great, that's okay, this is subpar. No, everything moves as a unit. And Newman Goretti itself just carries itself. And that has a lot to do with who's in the building.
That's awesome.
We won that Thanksgiving game 54-0. Just want to throw
Yes, we
did.
Awesome way to restart the tradition. Our kids say all the time, just about any student you ask here, what do you like about Newman Goretti? They say it's a home, it's a family. And that expands to every facet of life here, whether it's the classroom, clubs, out to athletics. Your teams are families, and the kids just get that from every angle. It's so cool to hear how the lessons they're getting on the field, on the court, on the track mirror what they're getting here in the classroom. And it's just such a great opportunity. We're so happy to have all of you here doing this. Byron, I started at Newman Goretti the same year that your team started here. We've coming into our 5th year. It's been awesome for me to see the kids you brought in, as 9th graders who started with you, where they are now and how much they've grown, just what wonderful young men they are. It's a testament to the work that you do. Absolutely.
This incoming, this graduating class right now, even last year, it's painful. We don't want to see them go. Let's just put it like that. But they're our guys. So it's it's bittersweet. But we know that we'll still be in contact with them and just watch them. It's funny, we talk about Anthony Johnson, who just committed to Rutgers. Army All-American, high GPA. He is like prime example of a student athlete, and how he looked when he, we're looking at pictures when he was a freshman, and now he's a senior, and just the growth, the transition, and just to be a part of that, is something special that you don't take for granted.
No, not at all. I mean, you're not just developing athletes, you're developing leaders and really wonderful young people who go out to do good things in the world. And that's awesome. So congrats to both of you for what you're doing. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, for being a part of this. I know this is, everyone loves hearing about Newman Gretty athletics. We have a history and a tradition of being a athletic powerhouse. And I'm so happy that tonight we got to go a little deeper than the wins and the trophies about what our athletic program is really all about, what the goal is beyond the scoreboard. So thank you for joining us. I will say personally, my husband works in sports media. I can't wait to go tell him I just hosted an hour-long talk about sports and athletics. He's going to be beside himself. But thank you both so much for joining us. Thank you for what you're doing here. And I think that's it for tonight. Thank you to our families for joining us. We have one more spotlight scheduled next week with our students. You can hear from them directly about life at Newman Gretty. And as always, please don't hesitate to follow up with us with questions, comments, concerns. We're here to help you throughout this process. And hopefully you'll be seeing Mr. Devaney, Coach Byron, our other coaches on the field next year. Thank you so much.